Welcome, everyone, to the Thursday edition of Fair Territory. I'm Ken Rosenthal here with Alanna Rizzo. And Alanna, we talk about this a lot. We say it's a long season. But this week, we have a lot of evidence of why it's a long season and how a long season plays out. And that's what we're going to talk about at the start of the show.
Yeah, it really is amazing how just a couple of weeks ago, Ken, we're writing teams off, and here they are again. Don't forget, everybody, to load up your questions for Grillin Ken coming up here later on Fair Territory. You can ask Ken Rosenthal anything that you would like, and you're talking about it, Kenny, but here come the Houston Astros. I'm not sure we would have said that 2 weeks ago.
We would not have said that 2 weeks ago. They're back to 500. They are a team that has really surged of late. And what's remarkable about this, Alanna, is who they're missing. Now, I want to show you just who they're missing, just from a rotation standpoint, because it's amazing how many starters they have down. Look at this, 7 starting pitchers. Now, Jake Bloss is a kid. He just came up. JP France out for the season. Garcia on his road to recovery. Javier out for the season. McCullers also expected back. Urquidy, Verlander. That is a rotation plus, and yet Hunter Brown has come on. Spencer Arrighetti has come on. They've still got Framber Valdez. And remember, they're also doing this without Kyle Tucker, who has been on the injured list. So the Astros, we all suspected would make a run, and they have made a run, and more power to them. And Alanna, what's also interesting about all this is not just the Astros coming on, but other teams as well that we thought might be buried have also made an impact in recent weeks, gotten back into the races. I'm talking about the Mets, I'm talking about the Cardinals, and I'm talking about the Red Sox.
Kenny, don't forget that the Astros have Ronel Blanco, a guy that didn't even make the opening day roster until really the last day of spring training and then had the no-hitter. So thank goodness for him. But you're right. I mean, let's talk about not only the Astros, but the St. Louis Cardinals, the Boston Red Sox, the New York Mets. I mean, this is a very, very crowded place as far as the American League and National League wild card is concerned. But they've done some things to make a difference, to make themselves relevant.
In each case, that's true. And I am sorry to Ronel Blanco for forgetting him. He will be on my all-star team that I'm picking for tomorrow's version of The Athletic. The Mets had this team meeting a few weeks back that seemed to galvanize them. And they have played much better. They've gotten real boosts from Francisco Alvarez and Mark Vientos, 2 of their younger players. Their veteran players have also performed better. They're in a different place than, say, the Cardinals or the Red Sox. And look at these turnarounds. I want to go through them one by one. All right, Houston was 12-24. They're 28-16 since. The Cardinals were 15-24. They're 26-14 since. And guess what? They still haven't gotten much of anything from Arenado and Goldschmidt. Mm-hmm. The Red Sox, a team that we all thought wasn't really even trying, at least their ownership wasn't trying. Well, maybe not, but their players are. They started 22-24. They're 21-13 since May 18th. And then the Mets, their good run is a little bit shorter than these other teams, but my goodness, 15-4 since June 4th. They are a whole different animal right now, although they are missing Edwin Diaz, at least during this suspension, and as well Drew Smith, who just went on the injured list. Their bullpen is a bit of a problem and a question right now. But the point of this all, Alanna, and we've seen it so many times, things change during the course of the season. We're seeing it the other way with the Yankees right now. They are seemingly falling apart. Things will change. They will change again and again and again. And you have to kind of be patient with the 162, as hard as that is for all of us to do.
Yeah, Kenny, when you look at the New York Mets, I think of Grimace, because he's been, the Mets have been amazing since Grimace threw out the first pitch. And when I look at the Boston Red Sox, Ken, I look at an actual person, Jarren Duran, who, if he's not at the All-Star game and if he's not starting in the outfield for the American League, Ken, something is definitely wrong with the event. Where do you think that the Red Sox would be without Jarren Duran?
Not in a good place. He has emerged as a star. And it's funny to me, Alanna, we keep talking about him as an All-Star candidate, and it sounds like Red Sox fans are maybe prepared for the worst, that he's not going to make the team. I don't think you have to worry about it. He's going to be on the team, I would expect. But certainly he has made a huge impact for them, and they are a fun team to watch. They are following, or maybe in the same pattern as the Nationals, the Reds, the Brewers, some of these other younger athletic teams that are making an impact in each their own way, by playing the game a little bit differently than we've seen under certainly the previous rules.
Yeah, you said you mentioned the New York Yankees on a little bit of a skid. They just got swept by the New York Mets. You're also talking about the Orioles a little bit that they won yesterday, but they were on a bit of a skid too. But what about the Blue Jays? Ken, I know you have an article that came out in The Athletic about this Toronto team. Can they be next in terms of a turnaround? What decisions do they have to make? Because the calendar to me is not on their side.
No, it's not. And they need to get going quickly, obviously, to avoid being a seller at the deadline. They are 14 and a half games back in the AL East. That's shocking. 14 and a half games back. They've made the playoffs 3 of the last 4 years. They're 6.5 back in the wild card race. And as you can see, the headline was the last place Blue Jays are an underperforming mess. Now, what do they do? And the way I went into this was kind of exploring the different paths that they could take. They could simply trade their potential free agents, guys like Kikuchi and Danny Jansen and Yimi Garcia, and say we're going to go for it next year in 25 when we have Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Bo Bichette in their last years of club control. You do that, you're looking at a bleak 26 because those guys are likely leaving. They haven't signed extensions yet, and I don't expect them to. So if you're the Jays, maybe you have to tear this apart a little bit and maybe you go beyond the potential free agents. You look at trading Vlad, who is hot right now, and even Bo Bichette, whose value is down. I get it, but still would have appeal to a team like the Dodgers. And then the way I describe it, if you're trading those guys, why not entertain more? Bassett and Gossman, guys who are signed a little bit beyond this year, but would have value in a starting pitching starved market. The Jays are looking at all of these things, I would imagine. They're not going to want to concede easily because, one, they have this expensive roster, the most expensive in club history. And two, their general manager, Ross Atkins, he's got 2 years left on his deal. Their team president, Mark Shapiro, has 1 year left.
Yeah, you don't want to admit that you've made a mistake, but perhaps a complete blowing up and rebuild of the Toronto Blue Jays is what's necessary. And Ken, I want to ask you before we move on about the Chicago White Sox. And the only reason I'm doing so is because it seems like their scouts are paying attention to other teams that we know are going to be buyers, perhaps for Luis Robert Jr., perhaps for Garrett Crochet, Fetty. And what more can you tell us about that?
Well, we reported this week, Alana, that the White Sox have dispatched their top scouts to watch the Dodgers, the Mariners, and Padres in recent weeks. Now, it doesn't mean they're trading only with those teams, but those teams, each of them, have expressed interest in multiple White Sox players. And you just ran through some of the names. The White Sox, as bad as they are, have a lot of interesting trade candidates. So I don't know how this is going to play out with them. And Luis Robert Jr. certainly is the most interesting name, because he is a guy that last year looked like a superstar. He is also a guy who gets hurt a lot and has never really played for a team that has expectations. I guess the White Sox did early in his career, but not so much lately. So what do? If you're the White Sox, do you wait until the offseason, hope he reestablishes his value? He's hitting only 190 with a 720 OPS since coming back. He hasn't played much, and he hasn't played all that well. So you could wait, and hopefully, yes, he gets to the point where teams say, wow, we want him for 3 years of control after this season. He is a guy we have to have, and you get a bounty for him. Or do you maybe look at doing it now before the chance of him getting hurt again becomes apparent?
Man, I remember when they signed Andrew Benintendi to that big contract, and they had Dylan Cease and Crochet. I was like, man, this is a pretty good White Sox team, and this is a team that is absolutely underperformed. We want to thank, of course, our partners here on Fair Territory, and we'll start with SeatGeek, of course, the official ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball. So they have you covered for all of your baseball ticket needs with over 228 million downloads. Rather, they're the #1 rated ticketing app. Baseball season is in full swing, and you don't want to miss out. SeatGeek has your tickets to every game and, of course, concerts, festivals, and more. Every ticket is backed by their buyer guarantee, and SeatGeek is the only site that lets you return your tickets ahead of the event with swaps. Use our code FAIR for $20 off tickets at SeatGeek. That's $20 off your first purchase with promo code FAIR. Make sure you click the link in the description to download the app. Of course, we want to thank SeatGeek for being here. Of course, all of our partners, we appreciate that very much. And Ken, don't forget, everybody's loading their questions in right now to get into the chat. And I actually have a question for you already. And this one is regarding Jed Hoyer on the hot seat as we get into Grillin Ken here. In your opinion, is Jed Hoyer on the hot seat?
Not presently, but if this season ends the way it has proceeded so far, certainly questions will be asked. Now, in fairness to Jed Hoyer, he operates with a budget that is given to him by ownership. So you could make the case the Cubs have not been as aggressive in free agency and in other areas as they perhaps should have been. At the same time, this is a team that they put together and a team that they all expected to contend. They lured Craig Counsell away from the Brewers. They did all these things, re-signed Bellinger, and it's not working. At least presently, it's not working. And Alanna, we talked earlier in the show about all these teams that have turned it around. I am sure the Cubs are looking at themselves the same way. But if the season ends out of the playoffs, disappointing, however you want to describe it, yeah, questions definitely will be asked.
Yeah, somewhere Ken, I think David Ross is smiling someplace. Do you think, this is another question as we continue here with Grillin Ken. Ken, do you think the smartest position on the field, this is coming from Rob, has to be the catcher? I'm a little biased in terms of that, but a catcher has to be the smartest player on the field. Do you agree with Rob?
Alana, I'm not just being nice to you by saying this, but of course that's true. There's no question that's true. And here's the evidence beyond even what you see on the field. Look at all the former catchers who become managers and all the guys who succeed in that fashion. Bruce Bochy is one, Bob Melvin is another, Stephen Vogt, yet another. There are countless examples of this throughout the game's recent history and distant past. So, yeah, a catcher has the most responsibility. There's no question. He's calling the game. He sees the whole field. He has the best overall perspective on what's going on.
Yeah, Mike Scioscia, Brad Osmus, Mike Matheny, the list goes on and on and on. Another question regarding the Milwaukee Brewers, who of course are at the top of the NL Central. Are the Brewers a playoff team? Interesting handle there. I'm not going to go and say that, but are the
right
Brewers
now.
a playoff team?
They're definitely a playoff team right now. Now, the question is going to be, as it is for the Guardians, for the Pirates, who are not as far in contention as the Brewers are, of course, are these teams going to improve themselves at the deadline? The Brewers just signed Dallas Keuchel. That's kind of a intermediary step, see what they have there. But at the deadline, what are these teams going to do? The Brewers, the Guardians, we've talked about this. They badly, badly need starting pitching. There's not a lot out there. So they're a playoff team. Like the Guardians, look like a playoff team. But the Brewers, their pitching to me is hanging on a thread. They're getting contributions from guys that they weren't even expecting to really make a difference at AAA this year. Tobias Myers, Carlos Rodriguez. These guys were not part of the equation, and suddenly they're playing pretty significant roles. So I love what they've done. I love their position club. I just don't know if their pitching can hold together, particularly if the Cardinals start coming on like they have.
Yeah, it's really crazy to think when you used to think of the Milwaukee Brewers, you just thought of pitching. I mean, you had Burns, you had Woodruff, you had Peralta, you had all these guys, and now that's not the case at all as far as the Milwaukee Brewers are concerned. Okay, another question for you and Grillin Ken about team relocation. We know, of course, the Oakland Athletics are heading to Sacramento. Another question from Rob. Rob, thanks for being here. Who is the next team to relocate? Obviously, excluding the A's because it seems like they already are.
Tampa Bay is not going to be that team as long as their stadium deal proceeds in the way it has to this point. You never know with these things. I don't really see a team right now. I know Kansas City is having a stadium issue and they're trying to get a new one built. Conceivably, if it doesn't happen, they could relocate. Arizona is in the same position, but I don't see any of these teams leaving and going to another city. What I do see are these various situations resolving, and then at some point, the league expanding by two teams to get
Right.
the 32, to get the geographic realignment, all these things they've talked about for the past several years.
I'd love to see a team in Nashville. I'm already a country musicaholic. Why not put a baseball team there? I'm just going to relocate to Nashville from Massachusetts. All right, one more question, and Grillin Ken, it has to do with the Philadelphia Phillies, one of the hottest teams in baseball. Christian German wants to know, will the Phillies find a closer and a center fielder?
An outfielder I can see them getting. I don't know if it's going to be Robert Jr. I don't know if they're going to be willing to pay the price that the White Sox are going to be asking. It's interesting. Dave Dombrowski, since taking over the Phillies, has really not traded any of their big prospects. He hasn't done that. He's done it a little bit differently, free agency for the most part, some trades as well, but he hasn't really let go of their big guys. They do need outfield help. There's no question about that. That's something they're going to look at. As for a closer, they've got a pretty good bullpen without a clear established closer. They can certainly get by without one, and I don't see them giving the A's what they want from Mason Miller. I guess it's conceivable, and if you can get a Mason Miller, sure, you go get that kind of guy. But I would expect their moves are of a lesser variety. Remember, they have a great vibe and chemistry about them. They don't want to disrupt it in any way. Obviously, if you bring in a great player, it's not disrupting it. But at the same time, they're going to be careful about that. So I would expect more complimentary moves than blockbusters. But I say that with the caveat at the deadline, anything can happen. And Dave Dombrowski is certainly a guy who has made things happen in the past.
Well, Dave Dombrowski, everywhere he goes, he just wins. And I love what you were saying, Ken, about the character. That team is so much fun to watch, and the chemistry, that's a real thing. And you got to be very careful about who you bring into that fold so it doesn't disrupt the greatness that they have in Philadelphia. Let's hear from our friends Scott Braun and Eric Kratz.
Kratz here from FT. I wasn't feeling as focused as I wanted to be and heard some buzz about AG1. Since drinking AG1 daily, I've felt energized, locked in, and ready to hit the day.
Braun here. That's because AG1 is a foundational nutrition supplement that supports your body's universal needs like gut optimization, stress management, and immune support. Since 2010, AG1 has led the future of foundational nutrition, continuously refining their formula to create a better, smarter way to elevate your baseline health. Kratz, not only did I replace my multivitamin with AG1, but I love that every scoop also includes prebiotics, probiotics, and digestive enzymes for gut support. That's a big deal for me.
I recommend AG1 to fam and friends because it's tested for 950 contaminants and NSF certified for sport.
Kratz, we're both traveling a lot too, and those travel packs are clutch. I drink AG1 daily to support gut health so that we can dominate the day. So if there's one product to recommend to elevate your health, it's AG1, and that's why we're excited to welcome them as a new partner to the FT network. If you want to take ownership of your health, it starts with AG1. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3K2 and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase at drinkag1.com/foul. That's drinkag1.com/foul. Go check it out.
All right, we always appreciate that. Time now for our Dude and Dork of the Week. This is where Ken and I get to pick a couple of dudes that we're psyched about, a couple of dorks that we're not so much psyched about. Kenny, we'll start with you. Who's your dude?
Well, of course, it could be Shohei, RBIs in 10 straight games. But Alanna, we're going to go a little bit off the board this week because as our roles as sideline reporters that we've both done, we can appreciate what this particular camera person did for Heidi Watney on television this week. Let's take a look. Here we go.
Oh,
Heidi's about to get hit. Oh! All right, now this ball's not exactly moving a zillion miles an hour, but still, it doesn't take much to hurt you. And Alanna, I can attest to this. I've gotten hit hard twice. Mm-hmm. One was right above the eye. It opened up a pretty bad cut. And the other, we've talked about this on Foul Territory endlessly. Todd Frazier, of all people. Vicious foul ball, 10 stitches, broken finger. It was my own fault. I was looking down, but whatever. It happens. And there was one other time too, Alanna, where I was holding the mic like this, and Carlos Delgado hit a foul ball and he crushed the mic flag.
Oh my gosh.
It was a little scary. I know you've been hit as well.
That mic flag saved your trachea. Okay, I've been hit 4 times, 2 of which have been in the head, one of which has been in the back, and one of which has been in the hand. And how about this, Ken? And you know this better than anybody. All 4 times I've been hit with the ball has been in the San Francisco Giants visiting Camberwell. I don't know what it is about Pac Bell, AT&T Park, now Oracle Park. Every single time I've been hit, it has been in that park. And one time I was doing a pregame show for Sportsnet LA, so I'm looking at the camera. Well, the field was to my left, and I couldn't look at the field. Of course, the Dodgers are on the field at the time, the Rockies and the Dodgers, because I was covering both of them every time I've been hit. And the ball comes sailing in and hits me right in the side of the head. Thankfully, it was not that hard. The first time I got hit was when the Rockies were on the field. Obviously, as the visiting team, they take BP and their warm-up second. And I was coming out of the visiting clubhouse up the steps into the dugout onto the field. And Jonathan Herrera overthrew a ball at first base, and it comes sailing into the dugout. Thankfully, Ken, it hit the step first because it would have been hit me as a straight shot. Hit the step first, hit me in the face. I had the stitches, like literally the baseball stitches were kind of like embedded in my forehead. I was knocked out. They took me into the training room, and I remember Robert Flores at the time was still with the Colorado Rockies, and he was in there, had no idea I was in the training room, and he's dancing around in a towel, and then he sees me, and he's like, "Oh my God, Alanna, I'm so sorry." And I was like, "No, no, no, I'm in your space." But they wouldn't let me do pregame. I was like laid up on the training table with stitches in my, not literal stitches, but the baseball stitches. I tell you what. And then covering the Colorado Rockies, they were playing the Toronto Blue Jays in Colorado. It was an absolute torrential downpour. This was back when interleague ended before the All-Star break. Torrential downpour. Carlos Gonzalez, left-handed batter, was, at the plate. The bat goes flying out of his hands because of the rain, sails into the dugout like this, right? So I had a nylon umbrella. Well, wood beats nylon every time. Smacks me in the side. I had a bruise the size of a pumpkin. Carlos felt so bad. He signed the bat, "Sorry for hitting you," with an upside down, face, like a sad face. I still have the bat in a case. I tell you, our job is not easy. It's a dangerous job, Ken Rosenthal.
It can be dangerous at times. And Alanna, I'm sure you're not aware of this, but guess where I'm working this weekend? Oracle Park in San Francisco.
Bring armor, Ken. I'm telling you, that park is dangerous. Okay, so my dude of the week along the same lines is Javi. He is the bat boy for the Los Angeles Dodgers. You better put respect on this name because he just saved the franchise. Look at the cat-like reflexes from Javier saving Shohei Ohtani's life. And if you look at the interpreter, here comes Will the Thrill, whose mouth is, his jaw's on the ground. Will's like, "Oh my gosh, I almost lost my interpreter job." Ohtani's like, "Thanks so much." Dave Roberts is clapping for Javi, and Javi's like, "No big deal. I just saved Ohtani, just saved the." And Austin Barnes could not be bothered the whole time. He's like, "Whatever, couldn't matter. It doesn't matter. He's on deck. He's just getting, his timing down." That is my dude of the week. Congratulations to Javi on saving Shohei Ohtani's life. All right, now time to hear from our friends at Manscaped.
All right, this one's for the dudes. You know how scary it can get when you're going for a close shave below the belt, and that's why FT trusts Manscaped for those sensitive areas. Their newest package is the Performance Package 5.0 Ultra, including the star of the show, the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra.
Their 5th generation trimmer features 2 interchangeable next-gen skin-safe blade heads, a standard one for taking a little off the top, and a new foil blade to go smooth wherever your heart desires. It also has dual LED spotlights to provide contrast on multiple skin tones, 3-length setting cones, and perhaps best of all, it's waterproof. Beach, lake, or shower, this razor will get the job done.
Manscaped even threw in 2 free gifts to their Performance Package 5.0, the Manscaped Boxers and the Shed Travel Bag. Want more wet products? Say no more. Manscaped has a new Buff Bundle, which is all you need to keep the summer heat a breeze. This bundle includes their signature silicone scrubber plus body wash, so ditch your nasty loofah and grab a taste of freshness this summer with Manscaped. Join the 10 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with our exclusive offer. Get 20% off plus free shipping when you go to manscaped.com and use code FOUL20. That's FOUL20. It's summertime, baby, and the trimming's easy.
Who is your dork of the week, Ken?
This one is easy, and we had a number of candidates, but for me, it's the new Texas baseball coach, Jim Schlossnagle. And he's the dork of the week for the way he reacted to a question from reporter Richard Zane. I want to show this to you, and then I'll explain why he's the dork of the week.
So with the rumors circulating today about a specific job opening, what do you have to say about your future in Aggieland?
I think it's pretty selfish of you to ask me that question, to be honest with you. I took the job at Texas A&M to never take another job again, and that hasn't changed in my mind.
Well, 2 days later, he took the Texas job. Everyone was aware that he might take the Texas job. And not only did he call the reporter or call the question selfish, he later said it was unfair as well. Now, Jim Schlossnagle at the press conference yesterday apologized for this, but here's the problem. The problem is when you say that initially, in this day and age of social media, well, people are going to react. And guess what? A lot of people, and I experience this almost on a daily basis, a lot of people can't wait to jump reporters and can't wait to say, hey, leave our guy alone. That's a common theme on social media. And naturally, Richard Zane, who's a young guy in his 20s, he got jumped. Now, I don't know how he reacted. I don't know Richard. But the mere fact that Coach Schlossnagle exposed this guy to this by his comments, which were ridiculous, knowing he was probably going to take the job 2 days later, and he wasn't going to be an Aggie for life. For that, Schlossnagle is Dork of the Week. I don't care if he apologized because he initiated that first flurry. And that, in this day and age, is simply not right.
And it's backhanded. It's a backhanded apology, Ken, because he said, "Oh, he was a young reporter. It's a selfish question." What's selfish is you lied to everybody's face at the press conference. You knew exactly where you were going. You knew you weren't going to stay at A&M. You knew you were going to Texas. And to jump on a reporter who's simply doing his job, he did not ask anything that he should not have asked. It was not an inappropriate question. You might be pissed off because you lost the College World Series, but that's not the reporter's fault. I agree with you 1,000%. I could have gone on about that, but I do have a couple of other dorks of the week, and it's Edwin Diaz and Noelly Martinez. And the reason I say that is because you have to know what you're doing. Stop with the nonsense of that you don't know. It's the same sticky stuff that I've always used. No, it's not. You know that you're being checked. You know that this is going to be detrimental to your team. You know that it's a situation where you're going to miss, 10 games or whatever it is, 10 days. It's unfortunate because the Mets are on a roll right now, and they really could use Edwin Diaz. And I don't believe that he didn't know what it was, and I don't believe that it's the same stuff he's always been using. Orelvis Martinez is another one. Don't tell me that, again, the Blue Jays did not need this. And if you look at the situation, he's taking a fertility pill. Again, I don't know this man's medical history, but you're 22 years old. What are you doing taking a fertility pill? And don't tell me that you didn't. You have to know what you're putting in your body. Don't give me that you didn't know. I just don't understand that. I mean, these guys should be smart enough. They've got to have enough help in that clubhouse. It's posted all over the place. Just really, really incredibly unfortunate.
I'm with you on both, Alanna, and I'm with you mostly because of the fact that these rules are not exactly a secret. Now, it is possible Orelvis Martinez is taking a fertility drug, and it's possible that's all on the up and up. At the same time, the players are told, check every substance with us, clear it with us. And evidently he didn't do that, and that's what leads to his suspension. So it's inexcusable. And even Diaz, you didn't see Carlos Mendoza rise to his defense. You also saw Edwin Diaz drop his appeal. So maybe he did it inadvertently to some degree, but my goodness, you can't get caught for this stuff. And frankly, there haven't been that many suspensions for this. Generally speaking, the umpires only act when it's something in their minds that is truly egregious. Mm-hmm. Clearly, they felt what was going on with Edwin Diaz was truly egregious.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's unfortunate. And again, you're not just hurting yourself, you're hurting your teammates. And again, the Mets have had a nice little turnaround here. And I understand, the want to get better, the want to perform better, but that's not the way to go about it because you're going to get caught, Ken. There's no way that you're not going to get caught. All right, time now for some words about our good friends, BetMGM. We always appreciate them. Once a day, play our free-to-play BetMGM Swing for the Fences for a chance to win daily prizes. Play as the batter and pick an area of the strike zone. Get a single, double, triple, home run, or fly out. Free-to-play promotion for BetMGM Sportsbook. BetMGM Sportsbook account holders who play our BetMGM Swing for the Fences will have the opportunity to win a reward if they get a hit. What do you think, Ken? Just coming up, I know you're going to be on foul territory next. What are you bringing to the boys? What are you talking about over there?
Well, whatever the boys want. They always seem to have minds of their own, Alanna, and whatever topics I might give them, they're going to stray from them anyway, so it really doesn't matter.
Oh, good point. All right. And after foul territory, I'm going to be back with you guys with Clint Pasillas on a live edition of Dodgers territory. We have a lot to talk about. Shohei Ohtani is on fire. How the man is underrated, I don't know. But by the way, Gavin Stone, Ken, he has stones. I don't know where the Dodgers would be without the services of Gavin Stone and Fabian Ardaya, your friend at The Athletic. Just fresh off his honeymoon. It's about time. I think he went on his honeymoon for 3 weeks. He is ready to go. So that's going to do it for the great Ken Rosenthal. I'm Alanna Rizzo here on Fair Territory. Ken is next on Foul, and Ken, of course, will be back with Fair on Monday. Take care.